of the blood cells? Yes, Salman and Halima.
Sir.
Do bones also help in the production of the blood cells? Yes, they indeed. As we learned that some of the bones are hollow from the inside and they are filled with bone marrow. And inside the bone marrow, some of the red blood cells and white blood cells are made inside the bones. Got this, guys? That is one thing. Further, we learned about the structures like what are ligaments. So we learned that ligaments are the tissues that connects two bones together. Like you can see here in the image, the ligaments, its function were to connect the two bones together. That was the ligament. Then we did also learn about the cartilages. So cartilages would be present at the ending of the bones, and the function of the cartilage is basically the function of the cartilage was to protect the joints and the bones. So they will be acting as a shock absorber. Okay, na? It is present throughout the body, and it is present wherever two bones will be joining together. So at there, the cartilage is present. Okay, you are not able to unmute your mic. Try joining the class again, Halima. Try to join the class once again. Then maybe it will be solved then. In the ears and in the nose, also cartilages are present. We did learn about that. Okay. Also, we did learn about tendons. So tendons are another tissues that are very flexible and they are very strong and they act similar to that as of a rope. The function of the tendon was to connect the muscles to the bones. So the muscles are connected to the bones by the help of the tendons. Right, Salman? We did learn about these things. Further, we did also learned about some other interesting things like joints. So we learned that joints are the points where two parts of the skeleton are fitted together to make movement possible. So we are able to do movement only in those places in our body where two bones would be meeting together, would be fitted together. Like for example, here the two bones are fitted together, so thereby it is possible for us to do movement here. If it was a single piece of bone, I wouldn't be able to move my hand like this. So the reason why I'm able to move my hand because there's a joint of two different bones in the elbow. Yes, Salima, can you now unmute yourself? Still not. Give me a minute. Don't know what the issue is. Okay, you can put your doubts in the class in the chat box, Salima. Okay, no. Then we learned that there are different types of joints present in the body. Like we have a pivot joint, we have ball and socket joint, we have hinge joint, etc. So pivot joint was a joint that will be rotating. Like the pivot joint is a joint that rotates. For example, it is present in the neck. Getting it, Salman and Halima? Pivot joint will be allowing rotation to some degree. Got this now? So rotation to some degree will be allowed by the pivot joint and it is present in our neck. Then we did learn about the hinge joint, where the bones can move along one axis and it indicates the presence of hinge joint, like elbow and in the knee. Like in the elbow and in the knee, movement along one axis is possible. So that is the case of the hinge joint. Getting this now? So hinge joint will be found in different places, like it will be found in the fingers, elbow, and in the knee. Like if you were to move your fingers, or you guys turn your cameras on in the class, by the way. So fingers can be moved in only one axis now. Like I can move it only in the one axis. I can't rotate the finger. Like see over here, I can rotate it only in one axis. I can't rotate it from here. Can I rotate the finger from here? No. I can either move it like this. I mean to say that, say this is the finger. So either I can do movement like this only. Getting it what I'm trying to say? So we can do movement like this only. No other kind of movement is possible. So I can move it only in one axis. I can neither rotate it or neither I can do any other kind of movement in it. So that is the case of the hinge joint, that you are able to do movement only in one direction. Okay, now is there any other direction in which we can move our move the move the fingers or the elbow or the knee? Huh?
No, sir.
No, so the knee can be moved only in the forward or in the backward direction. No, in not any other direction, the movement is possible. So that was the case of the hinge joint. Then in the ball and the socket joint, what did we learn about the ball and socket joint? So there we had learned like a joint in which a rounded end of one bone fits into the cavity of the other bone. As you guys can see here, rounded end of the one bone here. This is the rounded end. It is fitting into the cavity of other bone. You guys understand the meaning of the word cavity? Yeah. Cavity, like you might have heard of the dental cavities. Cavity develops in the tooth also. Getting it now? So cavities are basically kind of an empty or kind of a hole in the bone or in the teeth. That is what cavity is. Okay, now a hollow area. Okay, a hollow area. Now, if I were to draw the structure of the hip bone, now, like this is the hip bone, and if I were to draw the structure of this particular area, so this is kind of like this. Okay, now, so now you guys tell me that this is a hollow area or isn't it? Yes, Salman, this is a hollow area now, right? So this will be acting as a socket, and then you have the another bone here, this bone, and this is a rounded tip, looks like a ball, right, Salman? This is a rounded tip.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
Halima. So this has a round tip, and that looks similar to a ball. So this ball-like end of this bone fits into this cavity called a socket. So that is your ball and socket joint. So it is present in the hip where the femur bone connects to the hip bone, and it is present in the shoulders also. Getting it, guys? So that is the case of the ball and socket joint. It is present in the hips and in the arms. And interesting thing is about the ball and socket joint is that movement is possible in all the directions. Got this thing, everyone? So
Yes,
that
sir.
was the thing about it. Okay, no? Okay. So we had learned about the different kind of joints. Also, we know that there are fixed joint also. Like in the skull, fixed joint is there, which will not allow any movement to occur. So that is the case of that joint. Pivotal joint, basically what we learned, movement in one direction will be possible, or will you be able to do rotation here? The question regarding pivotal joint which I'm going to ask is that, first of all, you tell me movement, what kind of movement is possible here? Is rotation possible, or movement in all direction is possible, or third is movement in one direction only possible? Yes, in the pivotal joint, can we do rotation, or can we do movement in all the direction, or can we do movement in just one direction? No, Halima, that isn't correct. You guys can clearly see here that this kind of joint is present in the neck. Why is there a cavity in the hip and the arms? See, Halima, the cavity is there in the hip and the arms, so that basically the other bones can fit into it. Like the cavity is present here if the cavity were not to be present in the hip now, like this cavity you were asking about, no? So if the cavity were not present here, how will this bone fit into it? That's why this cavity is there. Hope that answers the question. Yes, Salman, what's the answer for this question? What kind of movement is possible in the pivotal joint? No, Halima, movement in all direction is possible only in the ball and socket joint. Okay, now like for example, you move your shoulder, like move your arms, like you can move it into all the directions. You can rotate it like this. You can uh, do movement in all the directions in the shoulder joint, in the arms, basically. Same thing is in the case of the hip joint also. Huh? So you can do movement in all the directions in the ball and socket joint. But in this kind of joint, you can do rotation up to 180-degree only. Okay, na slightly more than 180. So only that much of movement is possible here. So basically, rotation is the kind of movement in the pivotal joint now. Yes, Salman, you're not getting it?
Yes, sir, I'm getting you.
Okay, now the answer for the question is rotation here. Okay. Then this is the case of the hinge joint. Okay, now we have the example of like humerus and ulna. Like take the example of this joint over here, like here, the humerus and the ulna. Okay, now this is the humerus bone, this is the ulna bone. Getting it now? So they are the hinge joint. The kind of joint that is there is the hinge joint, where movement in only one direction is possible. So hinge joints are kind of similar to that of the door hinges, where only back and forth movement is possible. So it is present in our ankle, in the elbow, and in the knee joint. So movement will be possible only in the back and the forward direction. Okay, now gliding joint we don't have to actually learn that in the class, so I'll be skipping that. Ball and socket joint we have learned where it will be present in the body. Okay, now. So today we are going to continue with the study of the different kind of bones in our body. In the previous class we learned about the skull. We learned about the function of the skull. What is the function of the skull? Salman and Halima, what function is performed by the skull? Yes. Yes, it provides protection, good, and support. Okay. Salman, you're also supposed to answer these questions. We learned that our
Sir,
protect the
support.
brain. Yeah. Support, yeah, supports. Okay, and protect the brain. Main thing is it protects the brain now. Getting it. So our skull basically has main function of providing protection to the brain. Basically, have a look at this structure over here. Okay, now this is the 3D structure of the human skull, basically, as you can see here. So our skull, it has actually two parts. Okay, now if you were to look at the upper bones here, these bones are flat, isn't it? These bones are flat now. Getting it, guys? And these bones are held firmly like a zipper. Okay, now, and it will be covering and protecting the brain. So the upper part of the skull that you see, their main role is to protect and cover the brain, right now. But when you look at the front bones here, so these are the called as facial bones, which comprises of the upper jaw. This is the upper jaw over here. Then you have the lower jaw, and some other bones are also present here, right now. Which is the only movable joint in the skull, only movable bone in the skull. Which is the only movable bone in the skull, guys? Is it the upper jaw? Is it the lower jaw? Which bone can be moved? It's the lower jaw, right? Okay, now. Okay. So these were the functions and the structure of the skull. We did also learn about the rib cage. So in the case of the rib cage, what we learned that the key function of the rib cage is to provide protection to the lungs and the heart. And there are 12 pairs of ribs along the backbone, which makes a cone-shaped cage structure called as rib cage. So how many pairs of ribs are there? Like these, this single bone is called as ribs. And there are about 12 pairs of ribs. So in total, 24 bones are there in the rib cage. Getting it, guys? There are in total 12 pairs are there. So total, it's 24 bones. What is the function of the rib cage? Salman, you can answer directly in the class. What function does this rib cage perform? Yes. Talking about the function, the primary function performed by the rib cage is that it protects the heart, lungs, and other organs in the chest from the damage. That is the primary function. Yes, Halima, very good. Okay, so it protects heart and lungs from damage. That is the first function here. Okay. Furthermore, it will be helping in the breathing process also. Okay, now, like the rib cage is flexible and it allows the lungs to inflate, basically expand during breathing, and restrict or constrict while exhaling the air. Like when you breathe in air, so your rib cage expands. When you take a deep breath, the size of the rib cage expands or not? Yes, guys. Halima and Salman. Salman, are you there in the class or not? You haven't been
Yes.
responding. So when we inhale the air, when we take a deep breath, the rib cage expands. It helps in taking in air. And when you release the air from the nose, so thereby its size decreases. So this rib cage is kind of flexible. It is actually flexible and it helps in breathing. So another function is that it assists us in the process of breathing. That is one thing. Okay. So these are the main role performed by the rib cage. Got this now? That is one thing. Talking about the structure, so we have learned about the structure that there are 12 pairs of ribs present in it. 12 pairs of ribs are found in the rib cage. Ribs are basically the one single bone of the rib cage is called as a rib. Okay, now one single bone is called as rib. Furthermore, we see that bones of the rib cage are attached to the backbone. Bones of the rib cage are attached to the backbone. Getting it now? But there are some bones that are not attached to the some bones are over here. Like all the bones are attached to the backbone here, but there are some bones that are not attached to the breastbone, or also called as sternum. So they are called as floating ribs. They are called as floating ribs. So the last two pairs of the ribs in the human body, they do not attach to the sternum. They are called as floating ribs. Let me show you another view of this diagram that will give you a better clarity of what I'm trying to say. Okay, you guys take a look at this. You guys can see that there are two pairs of the ribs which are not attached to the sternum. Can you guys spot it? Yes. Now from here, from this view, you guys, hope you guys can see it now. See, the last two bones here, the last two pairs of the bones that you guys can see here. Yeah, exactly. So last two bones here, like this one over here, and this one. Are they attached to the sternum? Actually, no. They are not attached to the sternum. So thereby they are called as floating ribs. Okay, now. So 12 pairs of ribs are found in the rib cage. So there were in total there are 24 bones. 24 bones. That is one thing. Another main structure in this was the sternum, which we also call as the breastbone. The breastbone is there. So the question is that what is sternum? So sternum is basically it's a flat T-shaped bone present in the center of the chest cavity. It's a flat T-shaped bone that is present in the center of the chest cavity over here. Like you guys can see, does it not have a shape equal to that of T, the letter T? You guys observe this. Does it not have a shape equal to that of the letter T? Pay attention to this. Yes, right now? Okay. So the thing here is that it's a flat T-shaped bone that is present in the center of our chest cavity. And with this, 10 pairs of ribs are attached to this. 10 pairs of ribs are attached to this. So it is a flat T-shaped bone in the center of the chest cavity. The center of the chest cavity. Further, we get to see that about, 10 pairs of bones are attached to this, or bones are attached to this. That is one thing. Talking about the floating ribs. So floating ribs are the ribs that are not attached to this. Okay, now floating ribs, they are not attached to sternum or basically the breastbone. So hope this much about the rib cage should be clear. If there's any question in it, please let me know. You understood this, Salman and Halima? Salman, turn your camera on in the class. Halima, you also. Okay, so we did learn about the structure and the function of this. All right now? Okay. Now the next bone which you are going to learn about is the hip bone. Okay, now? By the way, this one more, this shoulder bone, this one was left. So that is the shoulder bones here. The shoulder bones. The shoulder bone is formed by the collarbone. First of all, have a look at this bone over here. This bone here, this is called as the collarbone. This one and this one, they are together called as the collarbone. Just 1 minute. So they are the collarbone. So the shoulder bone is formed by the collarbone first of all plus shoulder blade. So this is the shoulder blade. The region where I'm going to highlight, this region over here, this is called as the shoulder blade. Getting it, guys? This whole structure is the shoulder blade plus the previous one which I have marked here, like this one over here and this one. So that is the collarbone. So our shoulder bone is made up of collarbone and the shoulder blade. The shoulder bones are, they are flat plus they are large. Plus they are large. Plus, in fact, from the back of the backside of the body, they are. So why are floating ribs are not attached to the spinal cord? Floating ribs, they are attached to the spinal cord, but they are not attached to the sternum actually. See, Halima, if you guys can see here, like these floating bones, now they are attached. Like if they were not attached even to the spinal cord, so how will it be existing? Well, it will be floating basically in nowhere. I mean to say that it is attached to the backbone, but it is not attached to the sternum. Let me just give you another view of this. Now look over here. See, at the back they're attached now. No, Halima and Salman, like the last two pair of bones, they are actually attached to the spinal cord or the backbone, but they are not attached to the sternum. That's why they are called as floating rib. Getting it, guys? Hope it should clear the doubt. Now look at the shoulder blade here. This over here, this is the shoulder blade. This part is called as the shoulder blade. Okay, in fact, this is very wide now, isn't it? Shoulder blade, it's one of the widest bone present in the body. Now when you will be like when you will be, you can feel the collarbone here, like you can feel a long flat long cylindrical bone over here, like you can feel it with your fingers. Okay na? So that is the collarbone. So shoulder bone is made up of the collarbone plus the shoulder blade. Now these bones will be helping in the forming the joints with the other longer bones. Getting it, guys? Furthermore, talking about the function, like what function do they perform? So basically the thing is that these bones will be helping our limbs to attach to the upper part of the body. Getting it, no? Like our hand is attached to the upper part of the body with the help of this shoulder bone. The shoulder is made up of different kind of bones, like you have the collarbone, then you have the shoulder blade. Okay, now many times the upper arm will also be counted in it. The upper arm here, this bone over here, and the upper arm is basically the humerus. The name of the upper arm, this bone over here, is the humerus. Okay, so let me just explain few important things that about the shoulder bone. So it is made up of collarbone, shoulder blade, and the upper arm, or the name of the upper arm is humerus. That is humerus. Okay, now we can know the function of the shoulder bones. So the function of the shoulder bone is basically it will be allowing for different kind of motions in the upper part of the body. It is connected to different group of muscles. Also different muscles are connected to it right now. Also the kind of joint that will be present here, it will be the ball and socket joint is present in the shoulder bone. So thereby we can perform a range of movement here. So wide range of motion is possible here. Getting it, everyone? It allows us to perform wide range of movement using these bones. We'll be able to throw a ball, or we'll be able to reach out to different things that is around us. Okay, now so that is the importance and the structure and the function of the shoulder bone. Talking about the function, it has ball and socket joint plus different muscles and tendons are joined to it, Another thing is that we can throw a ball or reach out to different things kept on the shelf, or reach out to different things on a shelf with the help of this bone. Plus we can perform a range of movement. So we can do a range of motion because of this kind of bone here. So whether it be the forward movement or the backward movement, whether it be the rotation, so all those kind of movement is can be possible with the help of the shoulder bone. Okay, now then we have the hip bone. In fact, hip bone is the largest and the widest bone in the body. Getting it, guys? The hip bone is the largest bone in the human body. What I mean to say, in terms of its width, it is largest. Okay, now getting it, guys. So hip bone will be formed by fusion of or meeting of three type of bones. Just like we know about the shoulder bones, just like the shoulder bones, the hip bones are also very large and flat. Like the shoulder bones, what we have seen that they are very flat now. They are very large and very flat. These flat bones are very large here. Similar to that, the hip bones are also very large and they are flat. And this is formed by the joining of three different bones here. Getting it? There are three different bones in this region. Okay. Furthermore, let us just look at the kind of bones that are present over here. Can you guys spot the kind of joint here present in the hip joint? I mean to say, which kind of joint is there in the hip joint? Is it the ball and socket joint, hinge joint, or the pivot joint? Yes, Salman and Halima. Which kind of, okay, just tell me over here, which kind of joint is present? Is it balls and socket joint, hinge joint, or the pivot joint? Yes. You guys getting it or not? Yeah, that is ball and socket joint. Very good. Salman, are you there in the class? You haven't been responding.
Yes, sir.
Try to be active in the class. Okay, now discussion in the class participation is very important. Okay. Now let me tell you that there are mainly three different bones in this over here. Okay, now. So the first bone present over the hip joint here is the this bone over here. I mean to say this structure over here. Okay. So that is the first bone present over here. Okay, that is the first bone present. Okay, just 1 minute. It kind of ends over here actually. Hmm. Okay, that is the first type of bone over here. Then you have the another bone which I'm going to highlight using this color over here. This one. Okay, this one. And then there's the third bone present here. That is this. So they may appear as one single bone, but they are actually fragments. They are actually into fragments. Getting it, guys? They appear as one single bone, but they are made up of different fragments. Okay. Like if I were to tell you the name of this one is called as, by the way, this one is called as ilium. Ilium. Okay. This one is called as pubis. The names are not important, just for general information I am saying this. Okay, now. And this one is called as ischium. That is the ISCHIUM. Okay, now. Ischium basically. So the purpose of drawing this or telling purpose of drawing this was to tell you that there are three bones that are fused together in this. There are three bones that are fused together to form the hip bones. So our hip bones have contains three bones that are fused together, namely the ilium, ischium, and the pubis. Okay, but the main thing is what is the function performed by. So here you can see that our upper part of the body, that is basically that our upper part of the body is fixed to the lower part of the body with the help of the hip bones. Like this is the backbone. This over here is the backbone, isn't it? So the backbone is fitted into the hip joint, hip bone basically here. And this is the lower part of the body. And this is in fact the thigh bone. Now, if you guys were to look at this diagram, there are different bones on the, there are three different bones in the hip bone. Yeah, there are three different bones which are fused together in the hip bone. Right, Halima? Okay, now. Now, further, the main function of the hip bone is that, as you guys can see here, like this is the upper part of the body. The upper part of the body is joined to the lower part of the body with the help of the hip bones, isn't it? It's kind of a joining area of the two parts of the body where the upper part and the lower part of the body will be joining together. Getting it now? So that is the function of the hip bone. This is the function. Okay. One of the main function which I have said you that it will be joining the upper and the lower part of the body. That is one thing. Furthermore, the hip, the joint present in the hip will be allowing for different kind of movement. Like the here will be the ball and socket joint is there, so thereby we can move our legs in almost all the direction from this joint here. That is one thing. Okay. Furthermore, we get to see that it will be wearing the weight of the body also. Huh? All the weight of the body will be wearing on this now. Like when we are standing or when we are sitting, so the weight of the body is basically applied on this bone now. So it bears the weight of the body also. Getting it, Salman?
Yes,
So,
sir.
so let me tell you the functions of this. First of all, we learn that it is made up of three bones. Furthermore, these three bones are fused together, Okay. So thereby movement is not possible between these three bones because they are fused together. Just like we have the fixed bones present in the cranium in the upper part of the skull, movement is not possible. Similar kind of bones are these also, ilium, ischium, and pubis, where movement is not possible between them. Talking about the function, so first function we learned that it connects the upper and lower part of the body. That is one thing. Next thing we have learned that it bears the weight of the body. So it bears the weight of the body. So right now, as you guys are sitting, or if someone is standing, so the weight, maximum weight of the body is is being beared by this hip bone. Okay, now, so hope this one should be clear. Okay, now. Okay. If there's any question in it, please let me know. I will be moving on to the next topic then. All right, now. Okay. So what we learned in this that hip bone is formed by the fusion of three bones, and like the shoulder bones, the hip bones are also very flat and large. They are flat and large. Furthermore, they help in forming joints with the long bones. With these long bones called as the thigh bone or the femur bone, the joint is formed here with the long bones of the legs. Okay. Further, together with the last two parts of the backbone, it forms a large bony ball called as pelvis. It forms a large bony ball called as pelvis. Getting it? So this is called as the pelvis here. Getting it, guys? Like if you guys can look here with the last two parts of the backbone here, like this one and this one. Okay, no? So together with this, it forms a structure called as pelvis. So what is pelvis? Pelvis is kind of a structure in the middle of the human body that is supporting the upper part of that is supporting the weight of the body. Furthermore, it is made up of the bones. Like it's kind of a ring-like structure. Hope you guys can observe this. Gives you a ring-like structure. Okay, now getting it or not? This structure over here that is called as pelvis. Just let me highlight this. can use this color. Yeah. So that is being called as pelvis. Okay. So pelvis in the human body, it's basically kind of a kind of a cavity that will be made up by the bones of the by made up by the last two bones of the backbone and the bones of the hip, basically. Okay, now. Okay. So that was all about the hip bone, which we have learned. Now let us learn about the bones of the hands and bones of the legs. You are not getting that, Halima. Okay, which topic you are not getting it? In which topic you are having difficulty? Yes, hip bone. Okay, the complete topic you are not getting or a specific topic? Okay, let me just repeat the different things which we have learned. What we learned about this whole region that you see over here, no? This whole area that we see over here, this whole bone is called as hip bone. Now, this looks like one single piece of bone, but it is actually made up of three different bones: ilium, pubis, and ischium. The names are not important for you guys to remember. I'm just telling you to know that it is actually made up of the fusion of three bones together. Like these are fused together. These are kind of fused together, just like the bones of the skulls of the upper part of the skull. They are fused together. You can't separate them easily. So similar to that, these bones are fused together. That is one thing. Furthermore, we see that the function of the hip bone is that it supports the weight of the whole body. Like right now I'm sitting, the whole weight of the body is on the hip bone. Further, we learned that it is large and it is flat, in fact, which is visible here. It is large and flat. Then it is connecting the upper part of the body and the lower part of the body. It connects the upper and lower part of the body, isn't it, guys? That is one thing. Huh? So that is the different thing about the hip bone. Halima, are you still having doubt in it? Please let me know. Yes? No? Good then. We're talking about the bones of the hands and the bones of the legs. So bones of the hands and legs are like bones of arms, bones of thigh, they are very long. And they are long and they give a strength to our body. Bones of the while bones of fingers and bones of the toes are very short, and they kind of help us in holding the things. Huh? So the longer bones are providing the strength to the body, while smaller bones will be helping us to grasp different things. Like the bones of the fingers or the toes are very short, and they help us in holding the different things. Further, the hands and the legs, both of them are constructed in the same pattern, basically. Okay, now both of them have a construction of both the bones are having a same pattern. Let me just explain what I mean to say. Bones. Okay. First thing I say that bones of arms, thighs are long, while of fingers, bones of the fingers and toes are short. They are short, thereby they help us holding the different things. So they help us in holding things. They help us in holding things. That is one thing. Further, the hands and the legs, they are constructed in the same pattern. The construction of hand and leg have a same pattern. Let me explain what do I mean to say by the last line. So far, if you guys are having any confusion, please let me know. Good. Now, when you look at the part of the hand here, when you look at the upper arm here, okay, now, so upper arm here, this humerus, it is long. Then when you look at the upper bone of the leg, called as femur, that is also long. That is also very long here. Or if you guys want to look at another structure, look at this structure. That will give you a better clarity. Hmm. Now you guys look at the upper arm, called as humerus. This is long. There is one long bone in the upper arm, and in the upper leg also there is one long bone. That is one thing. Okay. Then look at the this part. Like look at the forearm. Look at the forearm of our hand. Like this part of the hand is called as forearm. Okay, na? So how many bones are there in the forearm? Yes, Salman. How many bones are there? Just observe the diagram here. How many bones can you guys spot here in the forearm?
What,
Two.
sir?
How many bones are there in the forearm? Look at the diagram and spot this. There are two, no? Two bones are there in the forearm. And similarly, when you look at the lower leg, how many bones does it have? Right, Halima? Yes.
Radius and ulna.
Yeah, those are the names, but the number is two basically, right now. So there are two bones in the lower leg also. So there's a pattern which is being followed here. Like our upper arm and the upper leg, both of them have one long bone, right now. Getting it? While our lower arm, basically forearm, and our lower leg, both of them have two long bones. Both of them have got two long bones. So there's a pattern here. A pattern is being followed here. Okay. Now, when you look at the wrist, so look at the number of bones in the wrist. Huh? Look at the number of bones in the look at the wrist and look at the ankle. So there are several small bones here now. So many small bones are there in the wrist or ankle, isn't it, guys? Yes, Halima. When we look at the wrist and when we look at the ankle, so there are several small bones in it, isn't it? So there is again a pattern here. Yeah. Again, a pattern is being followed here. Okay. Now, when we look at the palm of the foot here, when we look at the palm, basically it's part of the leg. Okay. I mean to say palm and basically the foot. Sorry. Basically palm. This our part of our hand basically. So when we look at the palm and when we look at the foot, both of them have actually five bones. How many bones are there? In total, there are five bones in them. Okay, so the palm and the foot, they have five bones in them. Now, when we look at the fingers and the toes, when we look at the our fingers and the toes, by palm I mean to say this part of the body. When I say palm, I'm talking about this part, like this. Let me take a diagram real quick. Let me tell you. So far, you guys are understanding the patterns which we have learned so far. The first thing we learned that the upper arm and the thigh, both of them have one long bone. The forearm and the lower leg, both of them are having two long bones. The wrist and the ankle have so many small bones in it. Now I'm going to tell you about the palm and the foot basically. Yeah, this palm and then take the foot bone also. Okay. Now I want you guys to pay close attention to these diagrams here and pay close attention to the one where I'm highlighting. One, two, 3, 4, and 5. 5 bones are there in the palm of our hand. And note down here also. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. How many bones are there? Both of them have same number of
5.
bones. Exactly. So then again, there's a pattern. There's a pattern again here. We have got one more pattern. Getting it now? Now, when you look at the finger and the toe, now look at the fingers and the toes here. Now pay one more attention here. Like each of them have 3 small bones except for the thumb which has 2 small bones. Now, if you were to pay attention to this, now if you were to pay attention to this, how many bones are there in the thumb in this case? 1 and 2. 1 and 2. Getting it, guys? Obviously, there are only 2 bones here, right? And when we see in the case of the legs also, our thumbs have got 2 bones in them only. Okay, but rest other fingers and other toes, when you see like 1, 2, and 3, and here also 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Here also 1, 2, and 3, 1, 1, 2, and 3 over here. This one, and this one. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. So isn't there a pattern here? We can clearly see the pattern here. This was the thumb finger. This is the thumb. How many bones do our thumb have in the foot? It has 2 bones. So another interesting pattern right now which we have observed, that the bones of our thumbs in the fingers and in the toe, they are 2, while others are divided into 3 parts. You guys understood now? Salman and Halima, the different patterns right now I have explained.
Yes, sir.
Good, then very good. So let me just conclude the pattern which we have just now understood. The pattern which is followed by the bones of the arms and the legs. Okay. That purpose I need one extra slide here. By the way, Salman, have you got the date sheet? Have you shared the date sheet with me or not? When your exam will be starting?
24th September.
24 September. You also have shared the syllabus with me, no? Yes, you had shared the syllabus with me or not?
Yes, sir.
We have, no? Okay. So the chapter body movement is there for you? You told me it is there.
Yes.
Good. So part of the hand, then we have the part of the leg, and then look at the number of bones in them. Number of bones. So first thing we learned that the part of the hand, like the upper arm, take the upper arm of the body and take the thigh bone. So both of them have, how many bones are there? 1 or 2? How many long bones are there in the upper arm or in the thigh bone? There's only exactly 1 long bone, isn't it, guys? Exactly. We learned about this. Then look at the forearm. Look at the forearm and the lower leg. So we did learn that there are 2 long bones. There are 2 long bones in there. Then talking about the wrist and the ankle. So there we learned that there are several small bones are present. There several small bones are present in them. Particularly talking about the palm of the hand and the foot. So they have 5 bones in them. The longer ones, as you guys can see here. These bones which we are looking at, this one over here. these bones that we were looking at, like they have 5 bones in them. So that was another pattern which is followed in the legs and in the arm and in the leg. Okay. Okay, it got deleted anyways. Then the last pattern was about the fingers. So we learned that each finger has 3 small bones except for the thumb. Except for the thumb, each finger has 3 small bones in them, which we learned. Okay, now. So let's just stop here. We'll be continuing from the next class. All right, in the next class, we'll be learning about like some of the spatial structures are left to be discussed, and we will also be learning about like some of the animals they do not have bones in them. Okay, no. So how they will be doing the movement, how movement will take